We are joined by head women's soccer coach Nikki Izzo-Brown this afternoon. Nikki, if you just want to start off with a quick opening statement just to kind of preview the 2023 season, then we will open it up to questions.
Yeah, so far camp has been good. It's always exciting to have a senior heavy group to work with. We're looking forward to our game against Duke, and it's been a hardworking, successful camp thus far.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Just a reminder to use the raise hand feature. And we'll start with Justin Jackson.
Coach, how you doing?
Good, Justin. How are you?
I'm doing real well. Hey, I kind of wanted to ask you about the scheduling, conference scheduling, obviously with the realignment and more teams coming in next year and things are kind of getting crazy. Obviously last year with the 10 teams, you could play 9 games, play everyone. This year, I'm kind of wondering how it got changed. 14 teams, and I think you guys play 10, I think.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of talk about, did the Big 12, talk to you guys about expanding by one conference game? And then, obviously next year when more teams come in, do you guys expand more conference games?
Yeah, ironically, like I said, I was just on a 2-hour Zoom with the Big East, and us wanting the 24 schedule as soon as possible. So we will, I guess, to answer your question, we do vote on, how we want that conference schedule to look, if we're going to go 10 teams next year or 11 teams. So us coaches are all, we looked with the scheduler to see what that was going to look like. I think everything is so fluid right now.
Right.
For all of us. But there's typically a vote, and then we kind of go from there. There's been no information moving forward if it's going to look like, two, separate divisional play. So I think it's still somewhat pretty new.
What's the process been like for you to become familiar with some of these new schools? I mean, obviously BYU was in the Sweet 16 last year. UCF had a tough suck around match with the eventual national champ. These are schools I don't think you've ever played them before, and trying to get to know them. And then obviously, more schools coming in next year that you've never played before. What's that situation going to be like? Probably not easy for a coach, right?
No, it's been a while. We've played both, but it's been years. We were at Penn State. We had BYU one weekend in a tournament in Central Florida, but everybody has changed so much. So, there's a lot of interesting things. You go out to that elevation. That's probably one of my biggest concerns is going out to Colorado. It just kind of hit me over the head once I saw that. But, our league's going to be stronger for sure. As you spoke to BYU and Central Florida, they're both incredibly strong programs. So I'm excited. As I was on another Zoom this morning, with, when Virginia Tech and Miami left, the Big East,
Right.
It's just, just tell me my schedule. Ideally, if someone would ask me, let football be football, let them go to their conferences and just regionalize all the rest of our sports. Because the travel's going to get real interesting for everybody.
Sure.
From Big Ten to all of us. So anyways, we do have a little bit of say. Totally excited that our league has just gotten better, and whatever that looks like, we'll know sooner than later, just determining a conference schedule.
You're Zooming everyone today then, I guess, huh?
It's tough. Well, you're in camp and everybody else is going. So today's our off day. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
All right, our next question will come from Ryan Decker.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good, Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Hey, so you mentioned obviously it's camp and off day for you guys, so maybe a perfect day to ask. Returner for you guys, who's made the biggest stride, biggest leap in their development from last year to this year?
That's a good question. what's nice is that COVID has allowed us to have the opportunity for some kids with, 5 years, right? So, I would have to probably lean on Kenzie Youngst. She's one that's coming back stronger than she was last year. She was coming off injury last year. Maya McCutcheon is somebody that is also coming very strong, and Maddie Moreau is always ready to rumble, and Julianne Valeron. So I would probably lean towards, and Keza, all my 6 years. I don't know if they've necessarily surprised me, but I'm happy with where they're at.
All right, Kevin Kinder, you're up next.
So following on with that, Coach, status of the team right now, anybody out for the fall, the spring? What's your health situation like going in?
Yeah, unfortunately, we did have we had a sophomore go down with a knee, and then that was unfortunate. So, we have to deal with that hit. She was a midfielder, sophomore returning. So knock on wood, our hope is that she will be the only one this fall. We lost Leah again in the spring with another knee. So we've lost 2 with some knees. So hoping we're done.
Will Leah have a chance to come back for next spring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then looking at your, looking at the stats, it seems like goal scoring has been, a struggle the past couple of years. I'm imagining that's a function. And going back for what you looked at over the past couple of years, bad luck, you needed to switch some things up, maybe some possible reasons, and how are you addressing that?
Yeah. Like anything else, we want maturity in that goal score. And, we're still young. We didn't anticipate Alina Stahl getting hurt and then leaving. So that was somebody who put in her time, where I think now with Delari, she's got another year under her belt. I think that's going to be helpful. We signed a transfer, Jada Bedoya out of UConn. This would be her 4th year. So for me, a lot of it is composure and maturity. But, again, our midfield, AJ's returning, with some experience in midfield too for us. So I think it's a combination of everything, but everybody's looking for that talented forward that can score. It's hard to recruit, so we got to develop them. So we're real excited about the freshmen that have come in, and then the returners.
Greg Carey, you can go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, just curious, last offseason, obviously, I'm sure the NCAA tournament streak ending the previous year was a big motivating factor. How does that kind of compare and contrast to this offseason?
Yeah, I think all roads lead to Virginia, Penn State, or Georgetown in the NCAA tournament. So with us beating Virginia Tech, but then again, stumbling with Penn State, that's always fuel for the fire. So I know us, not getting past to a Sweet 16 and making a Sweet 16 is definitely whispers that I'm hearing in camp, and something that the girls want to make sure that we take care of with the things we can control this year, our hard work and our development. And so I think I answered your question. And then I also think by winning a Big 12 championship, we can look to that a lot and how exciting that was. So I think failing and not making a Sweet 16, but also winning a championship will kind of be the yin and yang of the experience this season. And hopefully it'll be our fuel for our fire to do both through failure and success.
Brian Decker, you're up next.
Coach, earlier this year, multiple players from WVU from your program representing their countries in the World Cup. Just curious to you, what's that mean to the program? What's it like for you as a coach seeing some former players represent your program in the school on that big national stage?
Yeah, like you said, it's the biggest stage. So for us to, have athletes that have been part of our West Virginia family and our community and our athletic department, they take us all on their backs and represent us. So I know that a lot of Mountaineer fans reached out to me and just said how cool it was to follow our athletes or former alumni. So I think it always just brings sport always brings us together, and I think having those athletes, of course I'll go mom mode. I'm just so proud of them, and watching them and really just enjoying watching them is so fun for me, where I don't have to worry about tactics. I could just enjoy their experience and somewhat be part of it.
And then with Bella too, who obviously represented the Philippines, I guess what's kind of her future, but both maybe here and abroad?
Yeah, so Bella being so young will have, hopefully, I'm not the coach, but I would imagine some other youth national team World Cup. So U20s, U23, depending on things. So I can forecast that with Bella. But she really has made a big presence with the full national team coach, and I know he really likes her. So I only see that opportunity and how she's taken it to just allow her to blossom and become the best player she can for her country.
Andrew, aka iPhone, you can go next. You're still muted.
First time. Coach, that center back pairing, you had them for a long, long time, and now you kind of turned the page on it. So how has been finding that new pair been going?
Yeah, it it is. I mean, when you lose two pros, which is exciting, and both of them are starting, that just tells you how good they were and are. So it's not an easy task to replace their positions, but I know that Annika, has gotten some significant minutes there and knows exactly what her skill set has to be to keep that position intact. And then Kenzie, you might see Kenzie there a little bit, and obviously with all her experience, they know the position well. So I feel like we're in good hands, even though I never like talking about replacing players. I think every player brings something different.
Well, it certainly helps to have Keza too as the last one back, huh?
Yeah.
How does she get better this year than she was, or has she made any significant stride in any particular area?
Maturity. As all of us know that have watched Keza, her decision making has matured vastly. I think she really plays inside herself now, understands, make the save you're supposed to make, come up with the big one. So I mean, the game management is something that, she's really embraced. And just the maturity, a mature goalkeeper. And you can see them manage games and, handle that. And I think we've been seeing that progression with Keza, and we'll see it more this year.
Justin Jackson, you're up next.
Hey, Coach, kind of going back on something you were saying earlier with this expansion thing. You could, in theory, get through an entire regular season, and then who you see in the postseason tournament, teams that you never played before during the regular season. Do you see any problems with that? Is that something the Big 12 sort of has to sort of address, I guess, maybe moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, Justin, we did that in the Big East.
Right.
So I'm not as worried about that. My probably worry is the travel aspect of it.
Okay.
But again, yeah, I mean, when it comes to tiebreakers, when you don't play everybody head to head,
Right.
I think that's a huge issue. How do you determine a tiebreaker? I think that will be something we are all very aware of, and I am aware of from past experience with bigger size conference, and that was something we need to make sure that we address.
And then, just with the travel thing, I mean, obviously stuff is, sort of kind of being written now that, like you said, I mean, this is a football thing, but it's people are talking about, it's the Olympic sports that are going to suffer because of it, through the travel. And have you guys even started to kind of put your mind wrap around that and what it's going to be like at all, or?
I, obviously our beast is totally different because we play 2 games in a week.
Right.
I did get a sense of 1-game weeks when we were in COVID. I wouldn't be as worried if it was a 1-game,
Sure.
The 2-game week, my biggest concern is where do you put an off day,
Yeah.
and where do these kids take classes? So when that is the forefront of my concerns, then the competitive coach and that aspect is, a whole nother beast. Because again, there's so many different elements that I'm not even aware of. Like
Right.
when I went to the Big 12, by the time I traveled to all the schools, then I knew what the elements were that we had to manage through. Like you're saying, like, well, football's potentially could always just charter. Well, women's soccer, we don't have that luxury. So what schools do we really have to charter to, and what schools can we go commercial? And
Right.
how long does that take? Are we taking a day and a half to get to a place? I mean, we go pretty far now. So those will be things that I hope Ren and his staff will work through, and we're just going to have to experience it. But yeah, there's a bit of worry for me, and making sure that the student athlete first gets their degrees, and we're
Sure.
mindful of that. Yeah.
Yeah, just wait till those flights start getting delayed too. It's a lot
Yep.
of that.
Yes, exactly. And those are, those are real things. And we've been, we've been part of that. When I wasn't able to get to an NCAA selection show, I was delayed, and my team was on 4 different flights to where, we couldn't get to the Big 12 tournament 2 years ago. So again, it'll be work in progress, and hopefully we'll make so much money that they'll give me this big private jet that seats 100 people, and we can all go
Right.
together.
Yeah, well, you've got some stories there, obviously. Yeah.
It'll be a good book when I retire.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
All right, our final 2 questions will come from John Lowe and then Kevin Kinder.
Thanks. And Coach, to circle back to something you said a second ago, that the NCAA tournament, really the road to that goes through Duke, Penn State, Virginia. That's 3 of your first 5 games. And while that's business as usual for this program, to have those games on your schedule, how does that shift the dynamic a little bit with these new Big 12 teams coming in, like BYU, UCF, and Texas still in there, with a tougher schedule kind of throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, we look at the NCAA tournament, as much as I'm not criticizing them, it's regionalized. Let's all be real. It's and history has proven that, and I think the NCAA has a hard job, but you will find that UVA, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Georgetown, and Penn State are typically the regions we end up with. That's, being here this long, that's typically it. With that being said, we will have to rethink our RPI now, potentially, who, as we always have. Now, you guys know I always play a harder schedule than I probably should early on, but now with maybe a little bit more balance, with a BYU, maybe one of those goes away. I don't know. We would have to really look at it and put our team in the best situation to get the highest RPI to make that NCAA tournament. Did I answer your question? I think that's what kind of you're asking me.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going with. It was really that, and then just kind of like, does that make your job tougher, having a tough Big 12 and also a tough non-conference? But you basically kind of hit the nail on the head there.
Well, I'll probably back off that non-conference a little bit, I would hope. But we'll, again, you never know. There's some crazy lady that sits in this chair, so you'll see. We'll see. but it'll be driven by making the tournament.
Kevin Kidder, you can finish it out.
Bringing Eric Beltran on board, is his kind of job one, getting a rapport with the keepers? I mean, obviously you've gotten great play out of that position over the past several years. Any changes there, things like that? Are those the things he's concentrating on in the fall season?
Yeah, it's been awesome to have him working. We've always had a volunteer in that position. So, and obviously the NCAA has had some issues with volunteer coaches. So they really needed some of us that use those so effectively to go full time. So with that being said, Eric has been an incredible addition to not only oversee goalkeeping specifically, but just all aspects to help, because I think we're at 30 athletes right now. It's a lot for 3 coaches. So now with 4, I think it suits the athlete better with giving them the attention and education that they deserve.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.